Hey everybody, today I'm going to take you step by step on how to draw a traditional rose. First, we're going to sketch it with just basic shapes, and then from that sketch, we're going to line it with some lining markers, and then after we've done that, we're going to color it in with some colored pencils. Before we get started, today's video giveaway is another set of these Apprentice cartridges. These are the cartridges that you can put into your tattoo machine, and instead of a needle being in there, there's a ballpoint pen so you can tattoo on paper. So all you have to do to enter to win this is leave your Instagram handle down in the video comments, and in a couple weeks I'm just going to go through them and pick a comment at random. My only Instagram is tattoosbytyler_st. That is where I'll be messaging you for your shipping information. I won't be asking for money. This is a totally free giveaway, so please beware of scammers. All right, the things that I'll be using today, for the sketch, I'm just using a regular piece of printer paper, and then when I go to do the final version, I'm going to be using this mixed media paper. It's Artist Loft from Michaels. I'm not the biggest fan of it for these markers, just because it's slightly textured, and sometimes you can see the texture in your line, so it doesn't give you the smoothest line, but I bought it, so I'm using it. The markers that I'm using are, I bought these on eBay, Leto. I've never really heard of these before, but I like them a lot. Then the colored pencils I'm using is from Artist Loft. These are also from Michaels. They're not the best, but they'll do. For the sketching, I'm just using a regular mechanical pencil that I'm dropping all over the place. Got a regular eraser and a pencil sharpener. All right, so the first thing that I like to do anytime I am drawing anything really is basically just kind of define the area that I'm going to be working in with a very loose shape so I can stay kind of within those parameters and I don't get all distracted everywhere else. So what we're going to do is a smaller circle inside of a slightly larger circle. We're going to be basically just touching the paper with our pencil. We're not going to be really doing hard lines yet because we want to be able to build up our sketch. So inside of this smaller circle, what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of start sketching almost this like question mark S type of line first. So this is just going to be one of the petals that's going to be going over the center of the rosebud. And then the next one is going to be also from the top, and it's going to kind of just come in creating the center of the rosebud. Once we do that, what I want to do is kind of just make the bulb shape for the rosebud. Now, I'm not going to be making this a perfect circle. This is almost going to be like a egg shape, I guess you would call it. But we're just using the circle that we drew as a guide kind of to show the top and the bottom of that bulb. So next I'm going to be just kind of coming along this first line that we made, and you can kind of do this however you want. I like to kind of do it in two little sections to where there's like a little bump in the middle, so it kind of gives it a little bit more of a style, I guess. And then we're going to do the same off of this line. We're going to kind of just do a little bit more of a petal, just two little half C's or whatever you want to call them. And then we want to make the inside of the actual rose. So we're going to come off of this line right here that we drew, and we're going to come just down and around like this to make this other little egg shape right here. Then off of that, we're going to kind of come up here, and then off of that, we just kind of close off that little loop. Now keep in mind, this is very loose. You're not going to be doing exactly this when you draw, and you're also going to kind of change it as you're sketching. So now we have that general inside. We're going to be kind of marking off where we're going to be making the petals. They're not going to be straight lines, obviously, but I kind of like to divide this outside area up just so then that way I'm not making a petal too big or too small, and I can kind of like mentally put them all where they're supposed to be in my head before I start to draw them. Now obviously the ones that are farther away in the back and they're kind of tucked behind this, these are going to be slightly smaller, and the ones in the front, they're right close to you, so these are going to be slightly bigger. So we'll start with the front one since it's the biggest. So I like to start at like, I would call it like a head and shoulders shape that we're going to be doing. You can make your petals all types of different things. This is just a simple traditional rose. So it's like a head, and then it'll kind of come down and almost make like another little shoulder before it comes in and meets the center of the rose. And same with this, it's going to kind of come down and make like a little bit of a shoulder So we're just going to kind of go all the way around and do the same thing with all of the petals. One thing I like to think about is how I want to have the petals kind of tucked in front of or behind each other. So this petal is going to be out front and this one is going to be behind it. Now, how I mentioned that the petals are kind of heads and shoulders, you don't have to do that for all of them. Like this back one, I'm just kind of doing a hump kind of swaying down and then another hump over here. I'm going to do the same thing. Let's see, probably do the same thing for this one as well. And this one will be going behind this. This one can kind of come in front. And obviously, I'm kind of moving a little bit faster because I've drawn a ton of roses over the last couple of years. If this takes you a slower amount of time, feel free to pause the video and don't feel pressured to move as fast as I am, because like when you first start drawing, obviously you have to learn, and some people learn faster than others and some people draw faster than others. There's definitely a lot of people that I really look up to artistically that can just they don't even have to sketch this. They just hard line the whole thing and they can make a perfect rose. I cannot do that. I need to sketch. All right, so now we have our flowers sketched out. We're going to do the leaves. So the same thing, how we laid out the petals just by like simple lines. We're going to do the same exact thing with the leaves, and we're just going to kind of decide where we want them by just putting straight lines coming out, and we'll use those as guides as well. And all of the petals and the leaves are emanating from this center point. So anytime I'm making them, I'm just kind of saying, okay, this is coming from here, so it's coming out. This is coming from here, it's coming out. So off of these straight lines, we're going to be basically just doing skinny triangles. And it just depends on how large you want your leaves. You don't have to do them super big, or you don't even have to do leaves at all. But that's just kind of like the beginning stage of a leaf. And then after that, the beginning shape of the outside of it would basically be this and this, not perfectly mirroring each other, but we're kind of mirroring that shape on each side. All right, now we have that basic shape down. You can actually leave them like this if you want, or what I like to do with my leaves is kind of give it like the veins. You're showing where the veins in the leaf would be. So you're basically going to be coming along this shape, kind of coming in a little bit, and then same thing on the other side as well. So on that way it kind of gives it a little bit more, I don't know, shape. All right, now we have our final sketch all sketched out. We're going to be using these markers to make our line work on the mixed media paper. So now I'm going to turn my light table on, and what I'm going to basically be doing is lining up where I want this on my piece of paper. If you're making like a flash painting or whatever that you want to hang on the wall, obviously you want to make sure that it's in the center. If you're just making a stencil for a tattoo, it obviously doesn't matter. So this size is a 1.0 marker. I don't know if this size is universal, but what I want to do is basically make smooth lines. So we're going to be doing one pass lines on everything, and this, if you can get this down on paper, it's a lot easier while you're actually tattooing, while you're like feathering in and out of lines and making kind of these nice little ends to where they're swept out and they're not just like a dot at the end. So we're just going to kind of go through and do all this. Now you can get as crazy as you want with this. You can go through and use different line weights. You can do whatever you want. But if you're just doing like a traditional rose, it's usually all one single line weight. There we go. We got our outline from our sketch. this is something that I really enjoy doing. It's really satisfying to actually make all those lines and whatnot. So moving on to where the black is going to be. The black is one of the most important parts of your design because it's going to hold the design together, and also it's going to cause a lot of contrast. So I like to try to put as much black into a tattoo or just a piece of artwork as I can. So what we're going to do is just kind of start out with the obvious things. These inside parts of the leaves, I am going to do solid black. I'm just doing this with the lining marker. You could do this with your colored pencils as well, but I just like the richness of the black with the lining marker. All right, now we're going to shade and color in this rose. First, I'm going to start off with black, and I'm going to move on to the colors. I'm going to use my sketch to do this, to kind of experiment where I want to be shading. This I recommend doing, so then that way you don't have to reline your nice drawing. So we're just going to kind of take the black, and you can either just do it like real sloppy like this, or you can really try to like make nice shades and stuff like that. It is up to you how much time you want to take. If this is just going to be something that you want as a reference, like where am I going to be putting my shadows, then you totally can just kind of scribble it in. So then that way you have a reference, and it's a lot easier for you just to kind of cruise through. So that's what we're going to do, is we're just going to kind of create a reference of where we're going to be putting all of our shadows. So you definitely want to leave some highlight areas. You don't want to color this fully with color. So right here, I'm putting this shadow behind this petal, so I don't want to come right up to the edge with my color or my black on this petal, so in that way this petal looks like it's in front of this one. Same with anything else. Alright, so now that we have all of our black in, I'm going to do it on our actual final version. I'm just going to kind of lightly define my shadow area, kind of just brushing the paper back and forth to get that feathered out area. And then I'm going to do the heavy black and then feather out right into that lighter area. And with the area that I'm kind of feathering out into the lighter area, I'm almost using like small circles. I don't know if that's what a lot of people do, but that's what I do in tattooing, so it's kind of translating over into colored pencils. And honestly, I don't remember the last time I used colored pencils for anything. Now when you're doing black, you definitely want to make sure that the corners and the edges are right up to the line. You don't want to have any gap in between here, and you want to make sure that the black is the darkest where it should be dark, because it's going to look goofy if you don't have it solid black where it's supposed to be solid black. All right, now we got our black in our rose. We're going to be moving on to the red. I did a little bit of an experiment over here because I've never used these color pencils before, but this is what I recommend you doing. To where you're going to be blending the red into the black, basically, to where we had this fade out, we're going to have the red blend into there. Now before we do that, we don't want the red just to kind of feather up in here. I want this to be a solid block of red that's going into this. So what I like to do is basically just kind of line on the inside of the lines that you have already, leaving your highlight area between the red and the black line. So now we're doing the same thing with the red that we did with the black, but we're doing it in reverse. So we're doing the solid on the outside, and then we're going to be basically fading it out. So I'm doing this a little bit lighter here into the black, so there's that nice transition. So I just did the same thing here, just kind of testing out where I want the highlight area to still be. So the highlight area is just going to be all the way around the outside, and then the green's going to go right up to the black. So just like I was doing with the red, I'm drawing where I'm going with the green first before I color. Once I have the outline of the green, then I'm just going in and filling. The cool thing about this is I don't have to worry about kind of fading it in, so this is going to go a lot faster since we're not fading the green into any black or anything. This is just going to be solid green. All right, there we go. We got our traditional rose from sketch all the way to full color. This is something that I never do. I don't remember the last time I picked up a colored pencil. And also just using colored pencils reminds me why I love tattooing so much, because tattooing is so exact, and these you have to sharpen them because your lines kind of will get thicker, or they're not as exact as you'd like them to be, or even just saturation issues. I think that's just because I got it like a textured paper this time. I'm honestly not sure what kind of paper I should be using when using colored pencils. But either way, I think I'm going to do some more of these step-by-step tutorials when it comes to drawing. Please let me know what you'd like to see me draw in this fashion, so then that way you guys can follow along as well. Leave that down in the comments, and I'll start making more videos like this if you guys enjoy it. So yeah, have a good day, guys. Thanks.